P. Diddy the movie is Eyes Wide Shut. Protagonist Bill Hartford, he's just that guy. Rich, successful, an abundance of rich clientele, and one of those rich clients throws a Christmas party every year. And it's at said party that the plot starts proper, because at this party Bill runs into his old friend from med school who dropped out of med school to be a musician, Nick Nightingale. And Nick Nightingale, the pianist, properly introduces the P. Diddy storyline. It writes itself. So they reunite after years at this Christmas party, then proceed to run into each other again later on after a whole bunch of stuff happens that I don't care about, so I'm not about to talk about it. Middle of their conversation, Nick gets a phone call, and Bill's being so nosy all up in this man's conversation and sees Nick write Fidelio on a napkin. Then Nick hangs up, and Bill's just kind of sitting there like expecting this man to give the private details of his private conversation, but Nick breaks it down for him anyway. So basically, as a musician, he kind of has to take gigs as they come, and there's one gig that's super extra mysterious. He doesn't get the address until an hour before the party starts. Party doesn't even start till 2 o'clock in the morning. And listen to this bomb I'm about to drop on you. Not only do you need a password to get in, hence Fidelio, while he's playing, he's blindfolded with his back turned to the attendees. That's crazy work, bro. What? You couldn't see if you wanted to because your back is turned, but then they got the blindfold on you. So they're blindfolding you to nothing because your back, that's crazy. Now, me personally, if I was Bill, I would have been like, wow, Nick, that's crazy. Like, you really living large out here post med school. But Bill's a weirdo, so he was fiending to go to this party. So now Bill's on a mission because he's weird and feeling insecure because of marital problems that I skipped over, which are it's relevant to the story, but I just don't care. Well, I guess I'll kind of get into it. Essentially, Bill's wife confessed to him about having fantasies about other men. It's kind of put in the air, up to interpretation. It's kind of seeing it from Bill's perspective, if she actually hooked up with these men or if it really is just fantasies like she claims that it is. Regardless, not something you want to hear from your wife. I get that he wants to get his cheat back, but sir, the people that he went after to cheat back on his wife is insane. We'll get into it later, but oh my god, you could have picked a regular girl. You picked the most high risk people you could find. That's why I don't like Bill. But Nick tells him, once Bill's like, bro, I gotta go, Nick's like, you couldn't get in even if you wanted to, just as you are. And mind you, Bill is a well put together professional man, suit and tie, looking very presentable. But Nick tells him, sir, your attire is not up to par because everybody at the party is in a mask and cloak. Yet again, me personally, if I was in Bill's shoes, I would have been like, wow, that's a little much. Let me go home. Maybe not to my wife because I'm mad at her, but to your child, perhaps. It's Christmas. She's on Christmas break and you're worried about going to, oh my god, it's Christmas break and you're fantasizing about going to a party of that caliber when you could be spending time with your kid. That's why I don't like Bill. He proceeds to ignore all red flags and he's like, okay, bet, so now I just need a costume. Right. My bad. What was I thinking? So Bill convinces Nick to give him the address and kind of just puts it in his own hands, because at this point with the address, he has enough information to try to get into the party independent of Nick so as to not get Nick in trouble. Yeah, no, I'm sure that'll work. That won't come back to haunt him at all. Right. Now, this next stretch of the movie, Tom Cruise is giving very much Robert Pattinson, Edward Cullen in Good Time. Two white men who have played a vampire at some point in their career running around the city to partake in suspicious, most likely illegal activities. So Bill secures his uniform and pulls up to the party. Now, it's hard to get into the specific details, the nitty gritty, if you will, as to the absolute debauchery that the attendees at this party partake in because of YouTube censorship. So to self-censor, we're going to refer to a particular type of worker who provides a service that's illegal. Their job title starting with a PR as prosecutors. Now, when I tell you this party is full to the brim with prosecutors, that's Bill's type. That is his type, because in the chunk of the movie at the beginning that we skipped over, when he finds out that his wife allegedly solely fantasizes about, cheating on him, and he's like, oh, I gotta cheat back. I have to. I'm on the prowl. Tell me why this man goes for the first girl that he finds on the street who's a prosecutor who ends up testing positive for HIV the next day. This man he does not learn from his past mistakes. He learns nothing. women. And he got off free that time because they ended up not going through with it. He went home, as he should, and then found out after that she tested positive for HIV. Mind you, all of this takes place before he pulls up to the party, and he still goes through with going to the party. Bill, come on. Now, when I say full to the brim, Bill walks into the party. There's a circle of robed, masked prosecutors. They drop their robes, circle of nude prosecutors. Go into the hallway, more prosecutors. Every woman in this movie is either a prosecutor, a cheater, or a drug dealer. Drug dealer? That'd give them too much autonomy. Substance abuser, or all of the above. Or maybe a mix, like maybe you're 1 and 2 or 3 and 1. But unless you're Bill Hartford's daughter, you're not exempt. The more the merrier. That's Stanley Kubrick's mentality. May he rest in peace. I for sure had some problems with this movie. The aforementioned portrayal of every single woman in it, for one, and the amount of female nudity in this movie. Like, Sam Levinson wants to be Stanley Kubrick so bad, and it's especially uncomfortable watching those scenes, knowing Eyes Wide Shut came out in 99 and intimacy coordinators didn't really become a thing, or at least a standard in the industry, until like the late 2010s. And the Sam Levinson parallels, they just grow stronger, because the way Sam Levinson was making a joke of intimacy coordinators being an inconvenience on set in The Idol, Stanley Kubrick is that man's idol. But my biggest struggle with this video was the title itself, because my intention wasn't to make light of the charges Sean Diddy Combs is facing. May he rot in prison. So I kept going back and forth on whether the title was even appropriate, if I liked the movie enough to even like warrant doing a video on it. But then I did some digging, conducted some research, and I was like, oh, you do not say. So if we forward it back to the night Bill is running around New York City pulling his Edward Cullen in Good Time, and go through the motions of how he secured his uniform to attend the party. He pulls up to this closed costume store and flashes his privilege and his status as a wealthy doctor to get in after hours. And it's revealed in this scene that the store owner is pimping out a child prosecutor. But it gets worse. Listen to this bomb I'm about to drop on you. The fictional child prosecutor was played by a literal child. The actress was underage. The way I was shocked, clutching my pearls when I found this out, like I was doing a little reading trying to gauge other people's reaction, because I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, but I also am not the biggest fan of Stanley Kubrick to begin with. Like, don't beat me up, but I didn't like The Shining. And I found this response saying, yeah, maybe people don't like it when you cast children to play prosecutors. And I was like, ooh, you're so right. Actually, you're so right. So Stanley Kubrick directed a film about a wealthy doctor who gets wrapped up in this uber wealthy, dangerous sex party where people end up missing, because the prosecutor who tried to warn Bill at the party, she wasn't taken out or anything, but she just OD'd. Like, everybody knows she was a substance abuser. She was 1 and 3. And Nick Nightingale, who was revealed at the party to be the one who got Bill in because y'all are not slick, he didn't disappear. He just willingly checked out of his hotel with 2 strange men in the middle of the night, battered and bruised, and chose to cut all ties with Bill. Right. And in this film, there's a child prosecutor portrayed by a literal child. So yeah, maybe the title wasn't that off. You know, you're probably watching this on your laptop or your television while you're eating, so how about you pull out that phone and check me out on Instagram at Nana's Rewrites. I just finished covering season 3 on there, a compilation video coming very soon here, covering Devil May Cry soon, my spooky season summary starting with Opus, Woman in the Yard is next, and as for but they're bad guys, an Oliver case study, and a Cecil video coming very soon. Like, comment, subscribe. This outro took me way too long because I forgot everything, and I'm done.